The term kill chain is a military concept related to the structure of an attack. It consists of target identification, decision and order to attack the target, and finally the target destruction. Thanks to Lockheed Martin, a global security and aerospace company, that established the cyber kill chain framework for the cybersecurity industry in 2011 based on the military concept. Cyber attacks aren't new, but the stakes at every level are higher than ever. Adversaries are more sophisticated, well-resourced, trained, and adept at launching skillfully planned intrusion campaigns called Advanced Persistent Threats, APT. Our nation's security and prosperity depend on critical infrastructure. Protecting these assets requires a clear understanding of our adversaries, their motivations and strategies. Adversaries are intent on the compromise and extraction of data for economic, political and national security advancement. Even worse, adversaries have demonstrated their willingness to conduct destructive attacks. Their tools and techniques have the ability to defeat most common computer network defense mechanisms. The cyber kill chain framework is part of the intelligence-driven defense model for the identification and prevention of cyber intrusions activity. The framework defines the steps used by adversaries or malicious actors in cyberspace. To succeed, an adversary needs to go through all phases of the kill chain. We will go through the attack phases and help you better understand adversaries and their techniques used in the attack to defend yourself. The cyber kill chain will help you understand and protect against ransomware attacks, security breaches as well as advanced persistent threats, APTs. You can use the cyber kill chain to assess your network and system security by identifying missing security controls and closing certain security gaps based on your company's infrastructure. By understanding the kill chain as a SOC analyst, security researcher, threat hunter, or incident responder, you will be able to recognize the intrusion attempts and understand the intruder's goals and objectives. Reconnaissance is discovering and collecting information on the system and the victim. From adversary perspective, they are in the planning phase of their operation. They conduct research to understand which targets will enable them to meet their objectives. Harvest email addresses. Identify employees on social media networks. Collect press releases, contract awards, conference attendee lists. Discover internet-facing servers. From defender perspective, detecting reconnaissance as it happens can be very difficult, but when defenders discover recon, even well after the fact, it can reveal the intent of the adversaries. Collect website visitor logs for alerting and historical searching. Collaborate with web administrators to utilize their existing browser analytics. Build detections for browsing behaviors unique to reconnaissance. Prioritize defenses around particular technologies or people based on recon activity. After a successful reconnaissance stage, threat actor would work on crafting a weapon of destruction. Combines malware and exploit into a deliverable payload. Most attackers usually use automated tools to generate the malware or refer to the dark web to purchase the malware. For file-based exploits, select decoy document to present to the victim. Select backdoor implant an appropriate command and control infrastructure for operation. Designate a specific mission ID and embed in the malware. Compile the backdoor and weaponize the payload. From defender perspective, this is an essential phase for defenders to understand. Though they cannot detect weaponization as it happens, they can infer by analyzing malware artifacts. Detections against weaponizer artifacts are often the most durable and resilient defenses. Conduct full malware analysis, not just what payload it drops, but how it was made. Build detections for weaponizers. Analyze timeline of when malware was created relative to when it was used. Collect files and metadata for future analysis. Determine which weaponizer artifacts are common to which apt campaigns. The delivery phase is when threat actor decides to choose the method for transmitting the payload or the malware. They have launched their operation. Adversary controlled delivery, direct against web servers. Adversary released delivery, malicious email. Malware on USB stick. Social media interactions. Watering hole, compromised website. Defender side. This is the first and most important opportunity for defenders to block the operation. A key measure of effectiveness is the fraction of intrusion attempts that are blocked at delivery stage. Analyze delivery medium, understand upstream infrastructure. Understand targeted servers and people, their roles and responsibilities, what information is available. Infer intent of adversary based on targeting. Leverage weaponizer artifacts to detect new malicious payloads. At the point of delivery. Analyze time of day of when operation began. Collect email and web logs for forensic reconstruction. Even if an intrusion is detected late, defenders must be able to determine when and how delivery began. To gain access to the system, an attacker needs to exploit the vulnerability. After adversary have successfully delivered his exploits and got victims to click on the malicious link and open the malicious file. After gaining access to the system, the malicious actor could exploit software, system, or server-based vulnerabilities to escalate the privileges or move laterally through the network. The attacker might also apply a zero-day exploit in this stage. Whereas from defender's perspective, though traditional hardening measures add resiliency, but custom capabilities are necessary to stop zero-day exploits at this stage. User awareness training and email testing for employees. Secure coding training for web developers. Regular vulnerability scanning and penetration testing. Endpoint hardening measures. Restrict admin privileges. Custom endpoint rules to block shellcode execution. Endpoint process auditing to forensically determine origin of exploit. Once the attacker gets access to the system, he would want to re-access the system if he loses the connection to it, or if he got detected and got the initial access removed, or if the system is later patched. He will no longer have access to it. That is when the attacker needs to install a persistent backdoor. A persistent backdoor will let the attacker access the system he compromised in the past. The persistence can be achieved through install web shell on web server. Install backdoor, implant on client victim. Create point of persistence by adding services, autorun keys, etc. Some adversaries timestamp the file to make malware appear it is part of the standard operating system install. From defender side they have various endpoint instrumentation to detect and log installation activity. Analyze installation phase during malware analysis to create new endpoint mitigations. HIPs to alert or block on common installation paths, e.g. recycler. Understand if malware requires administrator privileges or only user. Endpoint process auditing to discover abnormal file creations. Understand compile time of malware to determine if it is old or new. After getting persistence and executing the malware on the victim's machine, adversary opens up the C2 command and control channel through the malware to remotely control and manipulate the victim. This term is also known as CNC or C2 beaconing, as a type of malicious communication between a CNC server and malware on the infected host. The infected host will consistently communicate with the C2 server. Compromised endpoint would communicate with an external C2 channel. Open two-way communications channel to C2 infrastructure. Most common C2 channels are over web, DNS, and email protocols. C2 infrastructure may be adversary-owned or another victim network itself. In this phase, the defender's last best chance to block the operation by blocking the C2 channel. If adversaries can't issue commands, defenders can prevent impact. Discover C2 infrastructure thorough malware analysis. Harden network. Customize blocks of C2 protocols on web proxies. Proxy category blocks, including none or uncategorized domains. DNS sinkholing and name server poisoning. Conduct open source research to discover new adversary. C2 infrastructure. After going through 6 phases of the attack, adversary can finally achieve his goals, which means taking action on the original objectives. What happens next depends on who is on the keyboard. Collect user credentials. Privilege escalation. Internal reconnaissance. Lateral movement through environment. Collect and exfiltrate data. Destroy systems. Overwrite or corrupt data. Surreptitiously modify data. Whereas from defender's point of view, the longer an adversary has phase number 7 of cyber kill chain access, the greater the impact. Defenders must detect this stage as quickly as possible by using forensic evidence, including network packet captures, for damage assessment. Establish incident response playbook, including executive engagement and communications plan. Detect data exfiltration, lateral movement, unauthorized credential usage. Immediate analyst response to all Phase 7 of cyberkill chain alerts. Forensic agents pre-deployed to endpoints for rapid triage. Network package capture to recreate activity. Conduct damage assessment with subject matter experts. Cyberkill chain can be a great tool to improve network defense. Remember that just one mitigation breaks the chain. The defender has the advantage with the cyberkill chain solution. All 7 steps must be successful for a cyber attack to occur. The defender has 7 opportunities to break the chain. There are many ways to use history to your advantage. Look for patterns to strengthen your defense. Improve your organizational structure and response. Know your potential threat surfaces, even the old ones. To conclude, remember defenders can have the advantages such as better communicate and mitigate risks, build true resilience, meaningfully measure results. Also remember there is no such thing as secure, only defendable. Start by thinking differently when you make changes to your processes, investments, metrics, communications with your team and leadership, staffing models, and architectures. Know your threats. It's not just about network defense anymore. It's about defending much more like your platforms and mobile users.